Hello and welcome. Before we begin today, I would like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land that I live and work on, the Mamu people of North Queensland. And I'd like to pay my respects to traditional owners and elders past and present right across Australia and the Torres Strait. My name's Peace Mitchell and I am excited to have you here today to join us for the launch of our brand new book, Goodbye Busy, Hello Happy. This book is a beautiful creation filled with stories from women from across Australia. I put the call out when I had the vision for this book for people who were experts in the field of productivity and organisation, and for people who had lived experience of saying goodbye to busy and changing their life so that they were able to say hello happy. Today, I am meeting with quite a few of our authors of this book and asking them about their chapter and the wisdom and advice that they share. It's my great pleasure to invite our first author for today, Fiona Luca, to join us. Please join me in welcoming Fiona.
There
you are.
I am.
How are you?
I'm good. That was like a snap of a finger and then I was there. I'm better now that I'm on next to you and not being called backstage.
Well, it's wonderful to have you here, Fiona. For people who haven't met you before, I'd love you to introduce yourself and tell us a bit about you and the work that you do.
Thanks, Peace. Well, first and foremost, thank you for having me. It's been an honour being involved in this book process and having the privilege of writing a chapter and sharing my story. And I hope that it is impactful or resonates or, changes perhaps a reader's perception or way in which they perceive busy and move forward to happy. But so my name's Fiona Luca. I'm the mum of two girls and I'm currently on holiday in Noosa. So my life is fabulous right now, sunning it up. I am from Victoria, the surf coast of Victoria. And what's brought me here has been a lot of things. My background initially was in the performing arts as a performer, choreographer, and then moved on after traveling the world to open a really large studio. So I was director of a performing arts studio for nearly 12 years. And that is, I guess, what led me to this place now, whereby I had large experience as a business owner with multiple staff members and hundreds of students, and relished in the concept of me creating this thriving business. But on the outside, everyone was perceiving such a wonderfully successful experience. But on the inside, I guess I was drowning a little bit and not coping, and perhaps was experiencing quite a severe case of burnout, but just not having enough awareness or connection to my mind and my body to know that that's the experience that I was having, and was chugging along. And long story short, that led me now to where I am post 5 years of selling that business, which is I'm a mind-body therapist. I'm also currently studying a diploma of positive psych and well-being, and really immerse myself as a coach and mentor, both in the youth space and in the women business space, to support people in doing just what this book does. It's not necessarily saying goodbye to busy, but having tools and resource to access a sense of inner joy, contentment, and build awareness to understand the choices that we make every day and how they're impacting us, both for the positive and also for the negative, and to break those cycles. So yeah, that's what I do now. And I feel very fortunate to have had the experience I've had in business that's now brought me to this chapter in my life that does feel aligned.
It's an incredible story, Fiona, because you did build a very successful business. You were doing everything by the book and running an incredible business. But at the end of the day, you were burnt out and exhausted, and it just wasn't working the way that you wanted it to work. Can you tell us a bit about that experience?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, and I raise this really clearly in my chapter. I mean, my love for dance and the performing arts when I opened this business was a completely embodied experience. I opened it for all the right reasons. And I think it was the heart and the intention behind opening this business that drove it to be as successful as it was. But what happened along the way was that as I evolved and grew as a human being, I was growing and evolving almost separate from my business. So I wasn't giving myself permission to have a personal experience within the business, and instead completely identified with it to define how I did life. And that's where I started to see and feel the tension in my world. It was like my outer world and my inner world, they weren't talking to each other anymore. And as the business was growing and expanding, and everyone tells you, you're at a point now, get bigger, get bigger, get bigger. And so I did that. And all the ducks were lined up. I mean, according to my financial advisors and accountants and my entire community, I was a thriving business. I was mad to sell it at the point I did. But what wasn't thriving was my well-being and my health. And the irony is that as a dancer and performer, I'm a really embodied person. I genuinely connect to my body, and I use it as a vessel of information and resource to serve me and my well-being. And I wasn't listening because my body was shutting down. I was emotionally drained, tired, exhausted. And not only was I shutting down and suffering, so was everything else around me, including the way that I was parenting, the way that I was showing up in my marriage. Was I even happy in my marriage? I later found out that potentially I was not because of the outcome. But long story short, the business was thriving, but Fiona wasn't. And I guess that's the biggest story or biggest bit of information that now I hold on to and I guide so many other women in business particularly with. It's that when you lose yourself in the business, not only does the business suffer, but obviously you suffer, and no one wins. No one wins. And I guess that was the point I was at. So the decision to sell and move away from that was genuinely the hardest decision of my life. And what came after that, no one could have ever prepared me. I mean, obviously lots of joy and clarity, but a heap of grief, a heap of challenge, and a genuine identity crisis, not knowing who I was. So yeah, but 5 years later, holy moly, I could not have ever acknowledged the journey that I've been on and the inner work and reflection that I've had to do in order to get me here today. And I can genuinely say that I'm at peace from the inside out, and that's a really beautiful outcome for me.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And it's incredible because you have changed your life. You had the courage to make a change and do things differently. But the work that you do now, I guess it's supporting business owners so that they don't have to sell everything to get a better result and, get their life back, I guess. Would that be an accurate summary of the work that you do?
100%. And it's quite extraordinary to note the support, you guys being one of them, and the incredible work that you do. The support that's around to help women identify the challenges, identify perhaps the misalignments and what's going on, and have support networks to create resources and tools and guide to not having to have the outcome that I had. And you're exactly right. That's exactly what I do. And it's so funny. Women in business come to me and they think they're going to talk business, but we don't talk business. We talk themselves, and it's all about you, the individual, at the end of the day. And it's your limiting beliefs and your conditioning and your patterns and the way in which you perceive yourself and the world around you that then obviously impacts the business and how you feel in the business. So, yeah, you're right. And, I wish I had a Fiona 6 years ago to guide me to see that, but I didn't. But that's obviously, beautifully my calling to now be that guide and that person for lots of other women, which I feel very privileged about.
Yeah, it's amazing. And, what a support that you are to the women out there, because I know so many women who have experienced burnout. They've been hospitalized for burnout. They've had to walk away from their business. And I think it's just really important to be providing that support for women, and also being a role model to say, there is another way. There's a better way of running business. You don't have to run the business until it runs you into the ground. So I think, yeah, it's really important to know that.
100%. And I also think, Peace, that it's so important. And if you do have the pleasure of reading the book and you do read my chapter, you'll learn this really swiftly. I'm a very curious human being. In fact, it's one of my very high top values. And what I had to do that I wasn't doing, and what I invite my clients to do is ask why. I mean, we don't drive ourselves to the ground for no reason. Sure, there's external pressures and all of the above, but a lot of it is, in fact, innate and embedded belief patterns and systems and things that we think we have to do, that then dominate how we behave in our business. Because not every woman burns out. Not every woman gets to the point that I did. But I did because of my background and my upbringing and the things I saw in my family home and the way I perceived business and work ethic and all of the above. So what I really love to share is that, you know, if burnout is to occur, if you're going in that trajectory, don't just stop and halt and then do nothing about it and think that it's going to be fixed, because there's a whole lot of work that needs to be done post that decision to then ensure that you don't go and find yourself at the same crossroad in your next business or endeavor.
Yeah, fascinating. And I think so many people are prone to overworking and, striving for excellence and perfectionism. And it is as a result of their mindset or the way they were brought up or their thoughts around, to be successful, you have to work hard and those sort of things. How have you unhooked from that? How have you gone through that change of mindset to now see it a different way?
Yeah, that's a great question. A lot of inner work, peace, and access to incredible professionals and people in industries that can guide. I mean, I feel like since I sold my business, which was nearly 6 years ago, I have not stopped studying and learning. And, I've gone down the path of, I'm obviously a qualified yoga teacher as well and Pilates teacher, mind body therapist. I'm studying again. I'm also an emotional healer. So I have just opened the books and the resources and attended the courses and the programs and sat in my own counseling and my own therapy and really learnt and done the work and become better resourced, but also have the tools and the support networks to integrate my resources. So it's been a long road and a challenging road, and a lot of decisions have been made post the sale of my business that have genuinely changed the trajectory of my life. I mean, I'm a single mum now, and I certainly wasn't when I sold my business. And just by selling that business, I've created space. And with that space, and I share this, I think, really beautifully in the book, and I give you, little cues to ask yourself your own questions to encourage this. But when we create space in our world, we hear things that have normally been suppressed or deflected by other things we're attracted to or spending our time on, and I created space. And with that space, I had to hear some stuff, and I had to hear some wonderful stuff, and I had to hear some really confronting stuff. And then with that information and with the right support networks and the right tools, I've been able to then make the choices that feel more aligned with me. And it's really served me. But it's not an easy road. It's not an easy road, and it's not for everybody. But I'm grateful that I guess I've traveled down that one.
Yeah, I love that. I love that you talk about creating the space. I mean, that's where the magic happens, isn't it? When we're so busy and we're working all the time, we don't allow room for that space. And that's where creativity happens. That's where we can tap into our inner wisdom. That's where new opportunities are attracted to us. I think that's really beautiful.
I agree.
Now, Fiona, I know that some people think that to achieve that sense of, of space and not being as busy and hustling all the time, that they have to play smaller. But I think it doesn't really work that way. I think we can still achieve big things, but in a really beautiful and productive and with looking after our own self-care as well. What are your thoughts on that?
Peace, that's one of the best questions anyone has ever asked me, genuinely, because I say that because so many women that start working with me, one of their disclaimers at the start, and it's all fear-based, this comment is fear-based, is like, I don't want to turn into one of those, wishy-washy hippies that doesn't get anything done every day. There's this innate fear that suddenly we're going to stop and pause and perhaps introduce some space in our lives or some introspection or self-reflection, and instantaneously it's going to take away drive, motivation, momentum, and all of the above. And it's so not the case. But what it does introduce opportunities and an acceptance to solace and peace and quiet moments and all that sort of stuff. So no, I'm living proof of this. I mean, I have a wonderful career. I have incredible opportunities arise every single day. I'm surrounded by epic business owners and women constantly and collaborating all of the time. But then I rush off to Noosa as I am with my children and hang out and sunbake and have not looked at my phone or checked my email since last Thursday. And that's not because I'm lazy and my business isn't going to fall apart because of that, but that's because I feel safe, that I've planted all the seeds and I've got the strong foundation, and I allow myself and give myself permission to stop and pause and listen and recharge before perhaps I go on to the next busy period or endeavor. So yeah, and that fear around and mindset around, oh gosh, if I create space, I'm going to play small. That's a scarcity mindset. That's a fear mindset. And that's something you probably have to squish going forward, because if that's the first thought that comes into your mind, then that concept and thought is probably driving so many decisions that you're making in your business. And that's not good. That's not great, because that's then going to attract that same lack and scarcity and so forth.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And I so love that you are taking your kids and you're in Noosa at the moment for a holiday. And I love that you said that you're not afraid that your business is going to fall apart when you step away for a few days, because I know that for some women, that's a thing. They can't ever switch off from their business because they feel like they've always got to be checking emails and stay on top of everything. And so even when they do take the kids on a holiday, they're still connected to their phone and checking things. What are your strategies for overcoming that?
Great question. I think that is about no longer solely identifying as my business as a human being. I use this, I'm very much a visual person, and I use this visualization with my clients all the time. And it's the pie chart. It's very simple visualization. It's nothing fancy about it, but it's essentially dividing that pie chart into all the beautiful slices of pie that define or that make up who you are. And your business should be one piece of pie, and it can create an immense joy, and obviously it creates financial stability and all that sort of stuff. So it bears a lot of weight, but there's so many other attributes to you that make up you. Perhaps you're a mother, perhaps you're a partner, perhaps you love to travel, perhaps you love to yoga or do art or whatever. So a tool would be that: why are we gripping so hard on our businesses to define our value, our worthiness, and who we are in this world? Because there's so many other beautiful qualities and attributes and characteristics that make up who you are that are not necessarily tied into your business, that the world needs. We've been plopped onto this beautiful world and given an opportunity to do life, not just to grow businesses, but to be change makers and to impact people and to warm people's hearts in so many other different ways. So maybe a lovely reflection question is the why. Why is always the best question. Why am I so attached to the outcome of my business? Why am I so attached to my clients, to my timetable, to my emails? What am I deflecting by attaching to that? What am I not giving my time and attention to, perhaps because it's confronting or too hard, or you don't think you're deserving of it? And I can say very humbly, I never had this insight when I ran a business. I was my business. Going on that school holiday break, because obviously we ran on school terms, I spent the first portion of it unwell because my immune system stopped and the reality of how my body felt kicked in. And then secondly, planning for the next year, because of course I had to be bigger and better than the previous, and it was just that vicious cycle and rat wheel that I could never get off. And what was I deflecting during that time? I was suppressing a heap of stuff, so much stuff. So yeah, build curiosity around that. What am I avoiding in order to attach to this? And it's not even your business. I mean, parents do it with their children. People do it with, alcohol or travel or whatever. What am I attaching to without boundaries that's deflecting from what's really going on inside for me?
Yeah, such a great question and such a great way of looking at it and getting curious and thinking deeper about what is actually going on and why you're placing so much value on the outcomes in your business.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Fiona. It's been wonderful chatting with you today, and I hope everyone grabs a copy of Goodbye Busy, Hello Happy and reads your chapter because there's some real gold in this chapter. It's wonderful. So, Fiona, how can people find you if they want to find out more about you and your work?
Thanks, Peace. And thank you for having me. And yes, do grab the book. So many incredible authors sharing their stories. Instagram at Move with Fiona Luca, on my website, www.movewithfiona.com.au, and Facebook with the same hashtag and handle. And just reach out to me. I share a lot on social media, and sometimes I don't, because I don't feel like I feel called in that moment. But everything I do share is always very heartfelt and supportive for the listeners or the people engaging. I coach and mentor one-on-one. I run PDs for corporate sectors, and I'm just here basically to share the wisdom that I've gained through my own adversity and challenges, in hope to support others that perhaps might be suffering or experiencing the same challenge.
Beautiful. Well, thank you so much, Fiona. It's been wonderful chatting with you, and I'll let you get back to Noosa.
Thank you so much. Take care, everyone. Bye.
Thanks, Fiona. Well, I'd now like to welcome our next author to join us, Gloria. Hi, Gloria.
Oh, hi. Peace.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm really good. How are you?
I'm really good. Yeah. It's good to be here.
It is. It's exciting to be launching our beautiful book, Goodbye Busy, Hello Happy. Now, Gloria, for people who haven't met you before, I'd love you to introduce yourself. Tell us a bit about who you are and the work that you do.
Sure. Thank you so much for having me. I am talking to you from the land of the Darug nations today, and I'll just pay my respect to their elders, past and present, and the future. So that's a good place to be in the Blue Mountains. Very beautiful. So those of you who don't know me, my name is Gloria Tabby, and I'm the founder of Everyday Inclusion. So before I did that, I have got a matter of 4, ranging from 30 to 16. So quite a big range there. And yeah, we live in Blue Mountain, so it's kind of west of Sydney. Really beautiful place. If you're ever there, get in touch. I love showing people around all the trail walks. When I'm not working, I love to run, so it's a really nice place to be, to get into the bush. I'm very passionate about workplace inclusion, and so that's my business model. And it came about from having a lived experience of exclusion in workplaces. And so the idea is to support leaders, businesses, to create an environment where people can bring themselves to work, where people feel safe, where people can be heard. And so that's what I do.
Oh, I love that, Gloria. Inclusion is so important, and creating a space where everybody feels welcome to bring their best self is really, really the way to get the most value out of everyone, isn't it?
That's exactly right. So it helps your people to actually do their best work, and so it is for the business, own benefit to support that. But unfortunately, managers and leaders are not always skilled. So it's just like having financial skills or sales skills. Inclusion is also like that. It doesn't just happen. It's something that we need to put strategies in place for it to happen. And so, part of actually the burnout that we hear, a lot of it is to do with workplace exclusion, where people just don't feel that they can take themselves to work. They're hiding themselves. They don't feel valued. They're excluded. And all of that add to the stress that we already face in the world. So yeah, it's a really important strategy to cultivate, no matter how small or big your organization is.
And so what are some of the strategies that you talk about when you work with these employers and businesses?
Yeah, great question. Is to really have a 360-degree assessment. I usually say to organization, look at your processes and your practices. And in that, there might be some exclusionary practices that you're actually not aware of. And a good example is recruitment.
Mm.
So if you want, for example, a diverse team, how are you recruiting to source those people? In your practices, are you actually excluding people and not know about that? And so we look at all those things to really put strategies in place that help cultivate inclusion right from the start to the end. And then when you do employ people, what's your onboarding practices? How do you induct them into your organization? So those are the things that I go through.
Mm.
Yeah, and it's really exciting for me. Like I said, it's not just a job; it's actually a passion, and having experience exclusion. My first and foremost is to actually help organization to cultivate that, because it's so important to me personally that people are looked after, because when we are looked after and we are confident, we actually perform better.
Yeah, absolutely. And Gloria, all the research shows that diverse teams actually come up with more innovative solutions and work better together, are more productive. Can you tell us about the benefits of having a diverse team and making sure that everyone feels welcome and included?
Oh my goodness, the research is bountiful. It is important though that we say this. To have a diverse team is important, but it's even more important to have a diverse teams that can work seamlessly together, because you have inclusion. Because without that, it can create quite a bit of a problem for you. You need
Mm.
to be able to, the team need to work well together. And that can't happen just by accident. You need to intentionally put strategies in place for that to happen. And the benefits are plentiful, because just think about it, different people coming in to think about an idea, a problem, they come in with different through different angles. And so,
Mm.
yes, they definitely are more innovative, more productive, but that can't happen until there is an inclusion in place, so that everyone feels supported, everyone feels safe to contribute. Otherwise, you're actually not making good use of your team. And so that comes first.
Mm. And really, a lot of it comes down to the culture of a workplace, doesn't it?
Definitely,
Yeah.
definitely. And when we talk about culture, it's interesting, isn't it? It's not just clothing that we wear or the food that we eat. It's actually who we are as an organization. What's the culture for, say, Oz mompreneurs? The culture that you create, so that it's part of your brand, it's part of who you are. That's all part of culture. And if you want to be an inclusive organization, then you need to actually have inclusion strategy built into all of your policies, the way you do things, the way your people feel at work, and so forth. So it's a
Mm.
whole package. In fact, I call it DNA. The very nature of your organization need to be built on inclusivity.
Yeah. And there are some incredible companies out there who do a great job of inclusion and have a really positive culture. What would be some of those great examples of a good culture that you've seen in the work that you do?
Oh, wow. So a study has just come out, and 9 organization in Australia has been picked to be the top 100 around the world
Oh,
of
wow.
being a very inclusive organizations. And I'm not going to mention their names, but the report is out there, and I'll perhaps maybe share in an article or something on my socials. So it's just come out. And one of the things that the characteristics for this is how long people are actually staying with the organization. So retention. So not just employing people, but how long people stay for. And when you think about, the great resignation, people leaving and quiet quitting and so forth, to actually hold on to your good staff in times of uncertainty, it comes down to how people feel about you as an organization, whether they will stay with you through the long haul. And that's what we are finding. Those organizations that are being picked as inclusive, on average, their staff are staying on longer. So that's interesting, isn't it? And we know that to replace staff is quite costly. I think the last time I checked, for organization with about 100 employees, you're looking about 20,000 minimum to replace a staff member. And when you go down, it can go up to about 40 grand. So holding on to your staff is a very important thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Because there's all the training and the time it takes to find somebody and the interview process. Like, there is a lot involved in replacing a team member when you lose somebody. So it does make sense to invest in creating an inclusive culture from the start and really looking after your people.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And often we wait till there's a problem to try and quickly reactionary fix it. And this is what I'm helping organizations do, to put a bit of break on and look at how you work as organization, and let's put strategies in place at the start before, when someone has already put their resignation letter in, leaving, to try and fix that. And it's doable. There are organizations out there that are doing this work in this country. So sometimes we just need a bit of helping hand to create a roadmap of from the start to finish. And what I do with everyday inclusion is that I provide tools, so organizations don't need me to be there all the time, and they have the tools to actually modify as they're growing in the organization so that's really good.
Yeah. I love that. And I love that you work with big organizations who, some of them have been around a long time and they've got quite ingrained culture. So a lot of changes need to be made. But as well as that, I know that for some of the people reading this book, their businesses are still quite young and developing. So it's the perfect time for them to be thinking about diversity and inclusion and the culture of their brand while it's still young and they're still putting those things in place. So, yeah, I hope everybody reads your chapter in Goodbye Busy, Hello Happy. And how can people reach you, Gloria, if they want to contact you for some work or get in touch to hear more about what you do?
Sure. So I'm on LinkedIn quite a bit. So if you're on LinkedIn, you would definitely find me, Gloria Tabby, or my website as well, which is www.everydayinclusion.com.au. Now, the beauty about starting inclusion from the start, whether you're a small business, is that the dynamics in our workforce is changing. So recent statistics that has come out, the millennials are going to be the biggest workers within the next couple of years. And those people are very attuned to what diversity and inclusion is. So if you're hiring, it's really important you have something very basic as diversity, equity, and inclusion strategy or policy. and I write that for organization. I can help you write that very, very easily. So very nice to be here and read the chapter. My chapter is called Grow Against the Grain, which is all about overcoming adversity. And yeah.
Beautiful. Well, thank you so much, Gloria. It's been wonderful chatting with you today. And I am looking forward to hearing what people think about your chapter as well. So yeah, please read and let us know. Well, thank you, Gloria. I'd now like to welcome our next guest to join us, Kylie.
Hi, Peace. How you doing?
I'm great, Kylie. How are you?
Yeah, not too bad, thanks. Warmer than it has been, so all good.
Awesome. So, Kylie, for people who haven't met you before, I'd love you to introduce yourself and tell us a bit about who you are and the work that you do.
Great, thanks. So Kylie Ross is my name, and I do a few little bits and bobs, but basically I'm a tech translator for entrepreneurs, small business owners, and anyone who's a creative, a content creator. And my business, it grew out of just helping people. And my background is an accountant, a systems accountant, and I've worked in quite a few different countries, traveled for over 20 years working, and I've met a lot of people in a lot of different industries. And the common theme that came up was people not knowing how to use a bit of tech, or what tech to use for a small business or for a big business. So I was quite often that tech translator of translating what the financials were, or what they wanted to do with content creation and how to get from A to B. And so basically I help people to be tech confident and to not be scared of tech is essentially what I do.
Yeah, beautiful, beautiful. Now, tell us about your chapter, Kylie.
Yeah, so sorry, Peace, I cut you off there. Yeah, so as I mentioned, I've traveled quite a bit, and in my youth, I had partied quite a bit and worked that ethic of you just work hard, play hard. And you always are working, 12, 15 hours plus in a day, because you put that pressure on yourself, but also it was expected in the industries that I worked in. And so burnout wasn't pretty. It did happen when I was 30. And then I just left the country, quit everything, sold up, and went traveling for a bit to decompress and relax. And where my chapter comes in is that then I became a solo mum at 41. And anyone who is a parent knows true exhaustion. And especially as a solo parent, which was my choice. But yes, I started to see the signs coming back again of hitting burnout. And so I put some measures in place, because I didn't want to go back to that. I had a little boy I needed to keep alive and keep fed and keep a roof over our head. So I had to pivot and realize that, look, I can't keep doing this. I can't keep working all hours, looking after him, and just being exhausted, being up all night. So my chapter is how I transitioned from that. And it was initially, I had to change my mindset. I had to realize that I didn't have to do it all. I didn't have to do it all. And so then I worked out that, okay, mindset, one thing, but then I needed to put things in place to help me to get things done. And being from the industry and the background that I'm in, or was in, automating my business was where I went with that, because I would, back in the day, and I'll just go back 10 years, software wasn't as advanced as it even is now. And there was a lot of busy work that you had to do just to get things done. So you had to create invoices, you had to do the work. And I was an accountant bookkeeper. So computer was my life. But there are a lot of things that you can do to automate those processes. So if somebody's going to, pay, you can automate sending invoices out. You can automate collecting payments. You can automate the bookkeeping quite a lot now. You can also put things in place to automate your processes for creating content, sharing content, coaching people. There's all these different things now that you can do. So I started on that journey of, well, what can I do for me? And so I started automating my business and realized that I could save time by not having to remember everything, and just having pop-ups come up in my calendar was the biggest thing I did first off. So that's how, and then my business has been built around helping other people to help with the mindset, obviously, but my main focus is on the automations and helping people practically, what does that actually translate into your business and your life to help you free up that mental space.
Yeah, that's amazing, and such a great strategy, because there's lots of ways that we can automate things that then takes that off our list of things to do. But I also love that you talk about setting pop-up reminders and things, so that you don't have to have that, you know, the mental load of those things of like, oh, when's that's coming up, I've got to know when that is, because that reminder just will tell you when it is, and then you can action it from there.
It's amazing how much mental space it frees up when you get in the habit of, okay, well, I've got to remember to do something, I'll put it in my calendar or my to-do app, whatever it is. It doesn't have to be the same app. There's no one size fits all for anybody, but whatever it is, be consistent. And yeah, you'll just free up so much space initially. And the other part of that, the core, I guess, message in my chapter is, if you want to learn, you will. And it comes down to, we didn't know, you can't just open your laptop and plug and play all the apps and it will all just work for you. It just doesn't work that way. We all had to learn to read, to walk, to talk. With technology, it's the same, especially for people who didn't grow up with tech, which is my target audience. I'm in my early 50s and I did not grow up with tech, but it interested me, so I gravitated towards it. But a lot of people these days are just not familiar with, okay, well, I need to go online, I need to start a business, especially with everything that's happened with the pandemic. But nobody knows where to start. And there's so much information out there that says, you must buy this new shiny thing. It's the best thing since sliced bread. You have to have it. And you actually don't. It's just what's going to work for you. So if you want to learn, you will. It doesn't matter if you didn't grow up with it and your tech freaks you out. My whole philosophy is teaching you how to be tech confident and to know how to pick the right tech for you, how to test it, how to incorporate it into your business. And and the message is, if you want to learn, you will.
That's a really great advice, because it can be really overwhelming thinking about all of the things that you need to do, and then, okay, now I've got to try and automate everything. But actually, when you invest the time and energy into setting that up and getting it working, once it's working, it will be life-changing. Is that your experience?
Absolutely. And I have some clients that come to me and they're just freaking out. They're like, I need to go online, I don't know what to do. And you can just see them just, stressed. And so we have a chat and we take it back to baby steps and go, okay, well, what are you trying to achieve? And then we look at what they've got. So I've got templates to check, what tools do you already have? Because there's no point buying new things if you've got something that works right now and you just didn't know you had it. So we work through that and we do one thing. You just have to achieve one thing first. And when you're comfortable with that, then we can move on to another thing. And it's actually, they come back to me and go, Kylie, that was amazing. I did it. Thank you for your help. Thank you for your patience. Because people don't learn fast when they're stressed and frustrated and they put this wall up to say, I can't do it. I can't do it. So you have to sort of take the time to step through it and motivate people, and then you do. And I have actually a longer story that's probably a bit long for this space in my workshop on Wednesday that I talk about a gentleman who was almost 50 20 years ago, and I was teaching him how to use inventory software. And I said, oh, just open this app and just click here. And he went, what? He'd never seen the computer before. He'd come from a generation, he didn't have a computer at home. A lot of people didn't back then, and he didn't know how to use the mouse. So we had to just take it right back to baby steps. And the thing was, he was shaking. He was so nervous. But eventually we got past that and he started managing that whole area because he learnt the software. So, yeah, it comes down to just sort of taking a breath. If you want to, we'll get there. You can do it.
I think the other really important message in your story is to ask for help. You know, if you are feeling overwhelmed or drowning or unsure of where to start with getting things automated, then ask for help. There's people like you who are able to help set everything up and help you get started in managing that.
Yeah, absolutely. And a lot of people find that once they do take that first step and ask for help, and we go through a journey to do that, they realize that it actually isn't as hard as they thought it was going to be. Again, it's your mindset that you put up all these barriers going, it's, you know, the world is ending, and you really go, oh, I have to click here. Oh, okay. And then I click here. Okay. So it's so much more than just here's some tech and off you go. It's definitely that human contact, and it's harder these days when we don't do the one-to-one face-to-face. Everything I do now is virtual and remote, and the first step is getting people comfortable with doing all of that remotely and being okay with that too. But yes, asking for help is definitely the first step. It's kind of like being an addict, isn't it? You've got to say, I'm not tech savvy, I need help.
Yeah, recognizing there's a problem, but also knowing there's a solution and that you don't have to do it all on your own. I think that's really important. Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Kylie. It's been wonderful chatting with you. And if people want to get in touch with you and get some help with getting their automations going, what's the best way to reach you?
Thanks, Pete. Yeah, it's been really cool listening to the other authors too and hanging out with you today. Yes, you can. My website is techsavvycreatives.com. Instagram is the same, and Facebook, so you can find me in those places. I'm on LinkedIn. I've got YouTube. I do tech tips. I've even got a Tech Confident or Get Tech Confident podcast. So you can find all of that on the website. I offer one-to-one coaching as well as packages, templates, checklists, and how-tos. So yeah, so reach out if you have any questions. We can, or just, you know, follow along and look at all the free stuff. You've got to start somewhere. That's usually a good place to go.
Beautiful. Well, thank you so much, Kylie. And I'm looking forward to your workshop later this week.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Bye,
Kylie. Bye. Now I'd like to welcome our final author today, Tina Bengal. Hello, Tina.
Hi, Peace. How are you?
I'm really good. How are you?
I'm really well. Thank you so much for creating this platform for us all. And it's been a really wonderful time to connect with all the authors and the community. So thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Now, Tina, for people who haven't met you before, I would love you to introduce yourself and tell us a bit about who you are and what it is that you do.
So I'm a vocal coach and the founder of One Voice School of Singing. I help people find confidence with their voice, find and discover their voice, and then bring them, you know, help them with their confidence to perform on stage. And I'm a children's book author as well, and also host of a podcast called One Voice Can Change the World.
And you've worked with some pretty incredible people through your career as well.
Yeah, I have been very lucky. I've been working in the industry, in the music industry, for over 20 years. So I've been, you know, been able to do backing vocals for international celebrities who come and tour Australia. So mainly in celebrities from the Philippines when they tour, and yeah, that's been an amazing opportunity. And I've also worked with up and coming Australian Filipino youngsters who love to sing and songwrite, and I've helped them, you know, prepare them for concerts or for auditions. And many of my kids have been able to work in the industry, so some in professional musicals, and it's been really wonderful to watch them grow and thrive.
Yeah, that's amazing. Now tell us a bit about your chapter, Tina. I'm curious to hear about it.
Yeah, so my chapter is called The Power of Your Vision, and it's all about creating your vision, your dream vision. And I really dive into how to create a vision board. And it sounds quite simple and it's fun, but it's one of those things, just like affirmations. I think that it's an important piece of how to create your overall vision, and also a way to just make things fun along the way, of being successful and going for your dreams. So I also dive into how I had an operation in 2019, and that kind of forced me to slow down. I had a very busy schedule with gigs and also with lots of students as well. And so it kind of forced me to slow down, which I hadn't done for so long, like for such a long time. And it just, I had a fibroid, which was quite big. So fibroids are non-cancerous tumors. And at the time when I had it diagnosed, the very first time before my son was born, who's now almost 16, it was only 2 centimeters. And then it grew to 30 centimeters by the time I was by the time 2019 came along. But it just like grew substantially in that year. And I was like, oh, in the beginning of the year, it was 20 centimeters. And then I thought, look, I've got this gig coming up with, I don't know if you know Melissa Manchester. She's a Grammy Award winner, and I was like, I can't cancel that gig. I was supposed to do backing vocals for her, and I was just like, I can't cancel it because I've been working towards this for so long. And I ended up doing the gigs and still having the workload, and then I fell sick, so I couldn't have my operation. So I had to push it back later in the year. And then that's when it started to grow even bigger. But in that time where I kind of was forced to slow down, I kind of realized all the simple things in life that I've been, pushing aside. And I was just so focused and driven on my achievements and what I had to do to go up and make a name for myself in terms of within my community. So it kind of helped me to slow down and really just pay attention to the little things. So I was really grateful for my family, and also the food that my mum would make, because she would, like at the hospital, she would make me all these Filipino food, and she'd bring it to the hospital, and then so the whole family would come and we'd all eat it at the hospital. So it was just that's my mum, and that's like it's her thing is food, and that's how she shows her love. And so while I was recuperating, my children's book came out from that, and it was just like inspired by how my mum brings the family together with her food, with her Filipino food. So a book came out, children's book came out called My Lola, and it's kind of like a blessing, and it kind of made me stop and do something that I probably would have not done if I hadn't slowed down. So,
yeah, absolutely. And I think sometimes in life, we need something to stop us in our tracks and make us reassess, what's going on and what kind of life we're living. And really, you talk about vision, but we get the time to really think about what our vision is and what our purpose is and why we do what we do. And if we're not living our purpose, how do we do that? And so I think vision boards are a really powerful way to get clarity around our purpose and around what we're wanting to achieve. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, definitely. And what I noticed is that I created my vision board before my son was born. I'll just show you, because I've got it right here.
Oh, yeah.
So this is one of the pages. But
Beautiful.
yeah, and I noticed, like, we're looking back at it now, it was all about like the things that I wanted, like material things,
Mhm.
all the things that I wanted to achieve. Like over here, I've got like, I wanted to have 3 centers, and be able to reach people with my music program. And then this is the lady who was Tina Turner's backing vocalist. And I said, one day I'd love to be able to be a backing vocalist for a celebrity. And even
Yeah.
though all these things came about, what I was missing was looking after myself. And I didn't have anything about taking care of yourself. I did have like probably a little picture of salad and broccoli to be healthy, but other than that, it was like, yeah, I didn't really focus so much on my temple. So
Mm. I think that's really interesting, that observation, because I've been making vision boards for many years now and working with people as well. And often when people are putting together a vision board, they'll put things in there like the car they want to drive and the house they want to live in and kind of these materialistic things, rather than thinking about the way they want to feel and
yes,
how you're going to look after yourself and those kind of things. And that's really important. And I think it's a miss
yeah,
sometimes.
yeah, and exactly, like it's so important to have all the different facets of your life part of it. Like, it's nice to have the car and and some of the material stuff, but yeah, we can't forget to look after ourselves and our well-being, because we wouldn't be able to achieve those and get those things without being healthy and happy and joyful.
Yeah, absolutely. Well,
Mm.
thank you so much, Tina. It's been wonderful chatting with you today. How can people get in touch with you?
You can follow me at Tina Bangle, and Bangle is GEL, on social media. And yeah, you can reach out if there's anybody that wants to talk about how to, you know, focus on their voice, how I can help them with their voice or performance or stage presence. Yeah, reach out to me, and it'll be good to chat to you.
Beautiful. Well, thank you so much, Tina. And thank you to all of our authors who've joined us today for our author panel for Goodbye Busy, Hello Happy. Our launch festival continues. We've got more sessions this afternoon and we're back again tomorrow as well. So thank you to everybody who joined us live, and thank you everybody watching the recording, and thank you to all of our authors as well. We will see you again very soon. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.